A lot of times, not all the time, but before I go into a hackamore on a horse, I'll ride them a little bit with a combination bridle. I don't use a lot of combinations. This is one that I do use. The horses accept well. It's got your nose band to introduce some of those pressure points, and this one has a chain mouthpiece, a little bit of a gag. A lot of your nose bands are easier to go into if you've ridden them with a combination a little bit. One thing I didn't touch on earlier on these combination bits, this one, and I'll use the Ed Wright combination, but I do not like the combination bridles that are bits that are braided here with the metal like they're clamped here. I want one that is tied off with the rope because it has a better feel. These stay in place better. Same with your Hackamores. I don't want them metal clamps. And when that nose piece is flopping down or doing this during a run, you might as well cut it off. It's not helping you at all. So depending on the horse, I've gotten a lot of what I've done mainly through the years is fixed a lot of problem horses. I'm getting out of that because it's just not fun. It's just a whole lot of work, and I really enjoy training these colts from a blank canvas up and have a really good solid product when I'm done. But if I have a horse that is really rooting and pushy and pulling on me and they don't really like a bit, I currently have a mare out here right now that was purchased out of the Cud sale. Phenomenal mare. Hates a bit in her mouth. Had her teeth done. You put a bit in her mouth and she's automatic pissy. Put a noseband on her, she's happy, good as gold. But if you've got one that is really pulling on you and pushing and things like that, this is another Cow Horse Supply. This is the Poly Puller. I have ran horses in this that need it, but you get more side-to-side action, and it brings their nose down and around. They won't come up with you like they can a bit. It will just bring them down. They make this in this metal piece and a rope. I use this one more than any, but for a horse that just is so resistant to the side to side and don't want to listen to you at all, it doesn't take long to change their mind with this. So that brings me to known by a lot of you now as the Wild Child Hack. This is the original Wild Child Hack that I got in a horse trade 24 years ago. It was in a pile of junk. The lady didn't have all the money, and I took it, and this thing has had the best feel. I've won more money in this thing on everything. I've rode from 3-year-olds up. I do constantly all the time through the last 24 years. There would be several times I would see one somewhere and I'd think, oh, I need an extra one of them, and I would buy it. The one I bought never had the same feel, ever. So when I got partnered up with JD Bits, I had begged him to make it for me, and he didn't want to. But he introduced me to Brad Lesh that owns Cow Horse Supply, and Brad, I'm sure he thought he was never going to please me because it took 2 or 3 months of him sending me demos to try, and I'm all about feel. I want things to feel a certain way. That being said, this curb right here was locked on this thing 24 years ago when I got it. I have never cut it off. I have never moved it. It does not get adjusted. And I was specific to Brad, when these come in the mail, they're supposed to be the same length that this one is, because that's the feel I like. The same with this hobble, because I want, when people buy them, I want them to have this great feel that I have with this bridle. So that being said, I never adjust the curb, and you know, I'll have people ask about it, but they're supposed to come set exactly like this one. This is the one you get now, the copy from Cow Horse Supply. You know, mine, I had tape around that. I don't really know why I did that, but anyway, that's just how it's been for years. So I get asked all the time also, okay, where do you want this? How do you adjust it? This, that, and the other. So I want to show you on this mare where I want them. And something that you remember too, again, you know, we talked about the 7 pressure points, and there's 4 on the outside of their mouth, their nose, their cheek, their jaw, and you, oh, I forgot, on the inside of their mouth, also on the palate, my chiropractor has adjusted a horse's palate on a couple of them lately that had fling in their head and stuff, and that's really helped. Okay, so again, I'm going to put my reins over here. And again, stand back here and pull them around and see how they're going to react. The reason, like, you have different nerve endings on the nose. The lower that you put these Hackamores or these nose bands down on the nose, the different feel you'll have, but the more reaction. The lower it is on the nose, the more tender it is on the horse, so the more you'll have. If you have a horse that you absolutely love in a Hackamore and they start getting a little bit numb or dull, sometimes I'll work them with a round pin with it 5-10 minutes, or move it up and down the nose. That's your options. Now on the curb, I don't do the 2-finger test. I just like it. It's snug. It's not tight. It's snug. There's movement in there. It gives a direct cue to that horse to come around here to me like I'm asking. One other thing about these Hackamores, and the reason I got so into it, when XV Wild Child started winning a lot, for it seemed like forever, I was 3/10 from winning the rodeo everywhere I went. The UPRAs around here are only going to base 6 holes, whether there's 100 or 150. They're going to pay 6 holes, and there's never more than a 3/10 spread at those rodeos. So I was constantly just barely out of it or barely placing, and that last 3/10 was the hardest for me to get. I remember at a pro rodeo in Vernon, Texas one night, I was running her in a medium shank Ed Wright dog bone on the back side of my second barrel. I asked her to come, and I noticed the second I asked her to come on the back side, she elevates her head. Well, there goes a 10th right there. And so I started using my head about, okay, I need her to come down and around. I need an immediate reaction. I need a down and around, because I was trying to get 3 more 10ths. She was a phenomenal horse at that point and had won a lot, but I wanted to pro rodeo and be successful. So I put that original Wild Child hack on her, and I went to a barrel race, and I set the arena record that night, the first night in it, and hence this Wild Child was born 24 years later. Another one of my absolute favorite hacks, probably my next to favorite from the Wild Child, is the Jim Warner hack. I have won a ton of money in this on Wild Child as well. I did learn through the years, when you have the nose bands, there ends up being different arenas, different types of grounds, different types of setups that I would change different nose bands. It just kind of always depended on what I felt that I needed at the time. And in just a second, I'm going to tell you how I learned that also. But this is one of the best pieces of equipment ever made, too, if you ask me. Horses are very accepting to it. Now, here I am bragging on all these Hackamores and like it's all this. It isn't a miracle thing. You've got to educate your hands with it and do what you can do to better communicate with your horse. 1 out of every 10 horses will refuse a Hackamore. They don't, every one of them take it. But in my experience, 90% of them, 95% of them will take it. The other thing, I get these horses in that have issues, or they're already started or something, and there were some things not done correctly. I'll put like the Wild Child hack on them, because I get out of their mouth. It gives me a new canvas. It gives them a new reason to listen to me, because I'm not scaring them or panicking them or making them mad from things they've already had done to them. They all of a sudden don't know what I'm doing, and they start listening, and then when they start realizing that I'm going to give, as soon as they give to me, I'm going to release the pressure, it just makes a lot easier relationship between me and that horse. Okay, so the story on the switching nose bands around, I don't remember the year, but I was in Guyman, Oklahoma at the pro rodeo. A girl in the drag before me. Anyone that hadn't been to Guyman, it's kind of deep, different type ground. Maybe looks like it's got some sand with a little kitty litter mixed in it, and it'll kind of move on you. It's different. It's a big pen. You run in an alley, but they close the gate, and you stop them, up to a closed gate. In the drag before me, the girl made a good run, but when she come back and went to stop her horse, he wouldn't stop, and she pulls on him, and he falls and broadsides and breaks her leg and a compound fracture right there. Well, right then, I thought to myself, you know what? I made the circuit finals last year, and I didn't win a penny here. So I went to thinking survival mode instead of a competition to win something. So I went to the trailer, and I got out the long shank Jim Warner, because at that point my goal was to just save my life and live to run another day. I went in there, and with this, I had never run in this before then. I'd worked in it a lot. With this, on that kind of ground that was moving out from underneath you as you were actually turning and things like that, I was able to get her stood up more. She handled things more, stopped phenomenally when we come back, and I won third in the long round and ended up making the short round, and won third in the average. So I learned right then not to be scared to go to the trailer at the last minute, because that was a huge blessing, and it was strictly an accident that I went and switched. I became a chicken real quick, and I ran to the trailer. So this right here has a lot of memories in me just for that. I bet I haven't used it 20 times since then, but I won't get rid of it. Another Hackamore that I absolutely love that I would switch to sometimes, like at Houston and places like that, is the Ed Wright swivel hack. I believe Tiller Murray was running in it at the NFR this year. This thing has a really good feel to it too. Sometimes if your horse is getting a little bit too bendy, say from the Wild Child or something, you can put this on a day or two and you get more forward motion, just a tick less bend, which allows them to be a little bit quicker and snappier in that turn. This is a great combination, or a great Hackamore. And then this is another one that JD made. It's just a simple little rope hack. Colts seem to like this too. I think it's got just a tick more bite right in here, because after 3-4 days you got them a little bit tender with it, but it's a very good one to have. The only other thing I see and have had Hackamores with the chains that go over their nose. I have the chain right, Ed Wright. Those are great pieces of equipment, but what you don't realize is those chains that are small, and you've got these really fine, you've got these really tender spots here down low on the nose. Those chains can get that nose pretty sore pretty quickly. And after, let's say you put a chain on a horse and you love it the first few days, then you get to where they're kind of tossing their head and this, that, and the other. That chain goes to kind of eating in there and causing a little bit of scar tissue and make them sore. And to me, it's not something you can stay in, so just be really careful if you get one that's got that chain noseband, and either wrap it with some black tape or be aware to move it up and down that nose. Don't keep a chain on the same spot all the time, because you'll end up getting in trouble. And have your curbs, adjusted correctly. One thing that I didn't show either that you don't see is like for example, the Jim Warner. The curb is going to set in a different location. Than the Wild Child or these other hacks. And so, for example, a lot of people would say, oh, let's just move this up, which I'm going to move it up one. But if you're loving how this horse is running in this, then don't be afraid. But you want a little bit different feel, a little bit sharper or something. Don't be afraid to drop it, but when you drop it on this one, tighten your curb up just a little bit, which I'm pretty sure that one's cemented and I'm not moving it at all too. But just don't be afraid to move these and play with them and see, just like your bits. Don't be afraid to tighten it up a little, step back here, pull them around, see the feel here. She's coming around, but she's not necessarily bending that nose around like she did, say, with the Wild Child. But she still has the good feel. you know, and not arguing with me, and it's not panicking her, and she's not worried about it. So for that reason, I love that too. And these will allow you to stay out of their way sometimes on a finished horse and just let that horse run its race without all the panic. And what surprised you too is like that Wild Child, it's got a lot of stop to it too. Sometimes these don't have as much stop as you want, which is like at Guyman that day why I changed bridles at the last minute. But now these, I was sitting here earlier and said, don't seesaw, don't seesaw. If you're running into a closed gate with these nose bands, you can seesaw with a nose band. I mean, that's okay because this isn't a thin piece of skin covered by a little bit of bone or whatever.
Okay, Tana, I wanted to thank you for your time. You just have so much information for the Barrel Racing Discussion Forum. Just want to stress to everybody that our professionals are volunteering their time to give their knowledge. But also, where can we contact you? Because you're a businesswoman. We know we want to bring some clients to you and answer questions.
Well, thank you, Joe, for asking me for this opportunity. I truly enjoy any way I can help riders and horses communicate better for a less stressful relationship for everyone. A friend of mine set up a Facebook page. We're just now growing it. It's called Fearless to First. There's a link on there that you can click on, and you can send me video clips of your problems, and I will answer 1 to 2 questions. A lot of times with a video, if you need that. Most problems I feel I can help you with. Sure, can't guarantee your results without visually seeing it, but I'd be glad to. So check out that Facebook page, Fearless to First. Also, you can find me promoting Streaking Boondocks, the AQHA World Champion heeling horse in 2011, and I've won lots of pro rodeo money on him, barrel races, that sort of thing. Phenomenal stallion. And also, I've got to thank my sponsors. I'm so blessed with them. They have stuck with me through thick and thin, broke bones and not, great success, upbeat things, and down in the dumps. So I'm like y'all, every time we can be positive and have any sort of positive anything, just like the Fearless to First, any kind of positive quotes, uplifting things, signs, things like that. I love those, being posted on there. But my great sponsors, Cowgirl Tough, Robbie Phillips Salary, and of course JD Bits. I cannot forget JD and Diane Morrow. Diane keeps JD all fed and everything so he can make our great bits. Brad Lesh and Cowhorse Supply, Rosie Bradley and Texas Oxygen, Simply Equine with Heather Benson been a phenomenal addition to my program, and I couldn't keep my horses feeling good and do stuff without her. She's phenomenal. Shauna Turner with Supple Steeds, Gina Franklin with Magna Wave treatments. I've been seeing huge results in what I've been getting done there lately. Also, Equine Omega Gold, Stephanie and Kirkpatrick. I've always known how important it was with your omegas and this, that, and the other, and these horses feed. But that has so far been the best omega product I have fed, and all my customer horses get it, and I love it. Another product I wouldn't want to go without. But I just can't say enough. And Iconoclast boots, they've sure stuck with me through thick and thin as well. And I don't know what else to say other than I've enjoyed spending time with you guys today, and if there's anything I can try to help you with, just remember, no question is silly or stupid. We've all been there. Every successful barrel racer that runs down the alleyway at the NFR started out as a little girl loving horses and wanting to do it. So we're all in the same boat. We're all just at different levels. So happy we could help. I have been asked to do some clinics. There may be some more clinic information soon, and I really enjoy those. So all of my students, I hope you guys seen this, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Joe.